Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about Pose episode 4, Take Me to Church. And this is season 3. This is the final season. After this, there will be no more. And like I said before, it's a bittersweet moment, but it's best for them to go out on top than not. So, pray tell. He was born by the name of Prayful, which I thought was really nice and different because I never heard of anybody named Prayful before. So it opens up with Pray Tell wakes up from having night sweats. He's sweaty. He keeps changing his sheets, and I think this is happening over a period of time, like night after night. So he goes to the doctor. And Nurse Betty is feeling on his shoulders, and she said his lymph nodes are swollen, and the doctor comes in and gives him the news and says, you have lymphoma, and you have about 6 months to live. So in true Pray Tell fashion, they're sitting down at the in the lunch table, and Nurse Betty saying we need to get a second opinion, and Blanca was like, they upset, and he grabs both of their hands and he says, he said, ain't no white man in a lab coat and cheap shoes gonna tell me to throw in the towel. That is just Pray Tell's fashion. Right? So, but you can tell he's worried. So he decides that he has to go and back home, take care of a few things, and I guess to set the record straight and tell people that they love them. So Pray Tell arrives in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, not Petersburg. Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. And visits his mom. Okay, so he's standing outside and he's looking across the street at the girls jumping, and he's thinking back to when he was out there jumping, and his mother Thelma she said Prayful, turned around, went in, and she said, how long are you going to be here? And he said, as long as you will have me. And she hugged him, and she's in the kitchen cooking up some stuff. Honey, when I seen Jack A. Harry at the table, I said, oh, she's going to be a mess. And she was. The other lady, his Aunt Patrice, I'm not sure who she is, but she reminds me of Cicely Tyson. When Cicely Tyson was younger in one of her movies, she reminded me of Cicely Tyson. So, he sat down with them, he talked to them, and he says, listen, I have some news that I want to share with you. And he told them about his diagnosis and stuff like that. And they didn't take it too well. Patrice and his mother, the mom, didn't take it too well. Back then, mothers, they was so into the church. They didn't want people to think wrong of them, so they never showed their children any support being in that lifestyle. Okay, but the mother had some issues too that I didn't like, but we're gonna get into that. So they didn't take it too well. So of course here go Patrice about saving your soul and this and that. He's like, stop it. Stop it. I don't want to hear that. Stop it. But the only one that showed him compassion, really true compassion, was Jackie Sandra. And she acted like Sandra Clark in this a little bit. But Jackie Harry, she showed him support and didn't judge him of anything. But the mother was very upset. She left the room and all kind of stuff. So Patrice was like, well, we going to church. And she said, you will never believe who, I think how she put it, you never believe who's the pastor. And she said Vernon Pastor Vernon Jackson, I think that's his last name. And he said, what? Now at that, I didn't catch on to what was going on. She said, God forgives all. And they went to the church. Now the Pastor Vernon, he reminds me of, oh God, what's the pastor name that played in Amen? Thelma was was married to him. What is that pastor's name? He reminds me a lot of him. And so Pray Tell is at the church, and Lettucey and this other guy, they was rehearsing, and oh my goodness, Lettucey and that guy, they was singing that song. So Pastor Pray Tell is sitting there listening to the song, them singing, and Pastor Vernon is behind him. And once they stopped and they clapped and everything, he turned around and he looked, and they had their little conversation and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's Pastor Vernon. He has a pass for Pray Tell, because they had a thing back in the day. The church isn't too accepting of the lifestyle that they lived, okay? And so Pastor Vernon tells him about who he's married to, and he was like my best friend from high school and all this kind of stuff. And he invites him over for dinner. And what pisses me off, he goes to the dinner, and the children are reciting Bible verses and stuff like that. So Ebony and him sit down and have a talk. Pastor Vernon has to leave. So she's basically asking Pray Tell wants advice from Pray Tell on how to please her husband. And Pray Tell was like, he has, just basically telling her he is gay. He is gay. But Vernon is hiding behind being a pastor and being, married to Ebony and having the children. And he's a man of God. I don't know how that works out for him or what he's doing, but the whole thing is a mess. His wife is a mess for asking him that. But let me tell you where I lost it at. When she was doing her little dance, from high school, and she flicked her hand around, I haven't seen that in ages, because we used to do that to people that we didn't like, and they say something slick, we'll flick our hand around real quick. And I haven't seen that, and I'm glad they put that in there, because I was like, oh snap, but that was really cool. So he's outside smoking a cigarette, Pray Tell, and here come Pastor Vernon. And so they walked to the park, and they started talking and reminiscing. And of course, he's telling Pray Tell that he wants to be there for him, and he's going to be there to the end. And Pray was like, I'm not. He sat on a bench and started reciting Bible scriptures, because he just could not believe what Pastor Vernon was doing, what he was saying. And I'm like, what is this man doing? I was like, this is a whole mess. But they giving it to you straight with no chaser. And they started kissing. And I'm like, now how in the heck this is going to work out? So Pray Tell left, they part ways. So he goes back home. So his mother said, I hope you wasn't around there causing any trouble. So Pray Tell said, honey, that house is trouble. It is a mess in that house. So Pray Tell and his mom, they have some issues, okay? And the issues is that she never accepted his lifestyle because of the way he was, and she allowed Ernest to abuse Pray Tell, if you know what I mean by when I say abuse. And she didn't stop him. And the stuff that she was saying, that she needed a man, she couldn't do this on her own. It's like, okay, you couldn't stop this man from abusing your child in that way. It's like their mentality, the way they thought back then, is really weird to me. But a lot of mothers in reality are like that. And that's why a lot of children ended up running away. And back in the days, the Port Authority is where you can find a lot of kids that run away from home, or just a lot of stuff, or they walk the streets all night. It's just a lot. So she was so worried about a man, okay? And I was just disgusted by that. So they flashed back to when Pray Tell was young, and he was in church and he was singing. And he is a performer. This guy that they got to play him and singing, oh my goodness, he is going to be a force. So another flashback, they was when he had stopped singing, they was collecting the books off the chairs and stuff like that and stacking them up. And Vernon and Pray Tell kissed in church. And honey, his aunt saw it. So you could only imagine what happened after that. But Pray Tell's facial expressions when he's at Vernon's house for dinner it was just priceless. I mean, his facial expressions are hilarious. And I just can't believe that Ebony was asking him for advice about Vernon. Like, that's your husband, girl. You should know what to do. And if he still have, feelings for another man, then you're not meant to be together. So, after Pray Tell gets back and, his mother and them to have a conversation and stuff like that, the conversation that they needed had finally happened. And she was talking about, well, what is your God like? And he told her, and she finally understands him. They had a conversation. She finally understands him. And she wanted him to come to church and sing. She said, because you're a performer and to sing. And honey, she had on this bad yellow suit with the hat. I said, that's how the mamas used to dress back in the day. They had it matching from head to toe. So she was in there and they came to church. He was in a nice suit. And, he sung. His aunt was like, I would like to bring somebody on stage. And, of course, Pastor Vernon sitting up there with a deacon, I guess, and the choir. It's a small church. It's not that many in the congregation. And so he gets up there and he starts singing. And what I captured from this was, I'm not sure if Billy Porter had a similar situation to this storyline happen to him. But it seemed like this episode, and when he was singing that song, it's like you can feel it. He was singing from someplace. And I'm like, wow. Did he really go through this in real life? Because he was singing and he was, doing his acting thing, but you could tell that some of it was real. He was feeling some of it. So, him and his, Aunt Jack after church, him and his aunt, Miss Jack A. Harry, she's a real one. They was at the some diner, waffles and chicken or something like that. And she pulled out a power of attorney paper. And she's like, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to do everything you ask of me to do. And I thought that was really nice. That was a beautiful moment. That was a beautiful moment. And she apologized to him because she felt like she didn't protect him more. But she's more loving and she cared for him more than Patrice did. Everybody has their way of showing affection and showing their love. But you could tell that Jackie Harry was that aunt that loved him through it all. She never stopped loving him. And he signed the paperwork and she was like, what you want, a parade? And he was like, no, the opposite. And he said, well, you tell that Electra, if she thinks she's getting a heart, you tell her to kiss my, Pray Tell fashion. But she's, if the time ever was to come, she's going to take care of all his affairs and make sure things are done the right way. And I thought that was really, really good. That was really nice. So Pray Tell is at the bus stop. He sees a car, but the car turns the other way. And I think that he hoped that Pastor Vernon would be there, but I didn't think he would. I didn't think he would show up to see Pray Tell off or to even come with him. I just didn't think he would. And Pray Tell knows it too. So as he gets on the bus and he sits down in the bus, the Greyhound is going past the church where he used to sing. He's looking at his young self and Vernon talk outside the church. And then you see young Pray Tell look at older Pray Tell through the glass of the bus. So back home, Pray Tell is having dinner with Blanca and the crew. So it's Blanca, is Angel, is Poppy, and I think it is Electra. And they having, he made his famous soup, the recipe from his mama. And they had, they held hands and said grace. And he said a really meaningful grace. And then it went off like that. I really did enjoy this episode. This episode showed more about Pray Tell, what he was going through, what he wanted to do before he left the earth, and he wanted to go back home. So it was more about him. It wasn't about any of the other characters. It was more about him and what he wanted to accomplish before, his eyes closed and stuff like that. So it was a really good episode. It really was. Like I said, I hate for this show to go because it's really good. It's just not about, the LGBTQ in the ballroom. Everything has a meaning. It's showing you life, how it was back then. And each person have a story to tell. Last week was Electra's story. This week was Pray Tell's story, But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed Pose and how do you feel about this being the final season? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys later.